Hello, everybody. Welcome to Plugin School Getting Started. I'm Karistina. My co-host today is Tomas, and we also have Michael, who was previously running Plugin School. This is my first week, so hopefully um, we can go through this together and not have too many issues um, going through. I do have a bit of stage fright, so let's hope that doesn't kick in too hard. Um, how many of you are not active subscribers to Sudowrite yet? Do we have any trial users? Anybody here just curious how this works? You can type a 1 in chat if you're a trial user, or if you've just started using Sudowrite and are still learning the ropes. Or if you know how to use Sudowrite and you're just curious about how to use plugins, I guess you could write a 2. And 3 means you know what you're doing, but you figured you'd check out class. And plugins confound you. Well, hopefully they will not after today. 2.762. That's quite specific. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just start with the home page for Sudowrite. So you can see this is where all your documents are. If you have any documents, if you're just starting, you're not going to have them, but there's this button to add new, and you can do that at any time. I've already started a document for us, so we'll be using that today. But from the home page, you can navigate to the plugins directory right here from this plugins button on the right hand side of the screen, and it will show you the overview of all of the available plugins currently available on Sudowrite. Oh yes, I'm using a darker theme because it's easier on my eyes. So your screen may not look like this. It will probably be brighter and pinker. Okay, so as you can see, there are a lot of different plugins, and we're viewing them by most popular by default when you come here. So you'll see the most popular one is Spicywrite by James Yu, one of the founders of Sudowrite. And as you get down, if you scroll, you can start seeing the ones that have far fewer users. That's probably not the best way to be searching, so we're just going to scroll back to the top. And what you can do is you can browse by category, depending on what you're looking for. We have narrative and plot, which the plugins will be related to crafting your narrative, working on your plot, whether writing or rewriting. There's stuff about outlines and beats for your chapters, subplots. We've got character development plugins, which you can use if you have ideas for characters, but you'd like to make them a little more interesting. Editing and revision. Got a lot of editing and revision plugins that will span a variety of topics from general to specific, like stop the dialogue tags, I said. When you don't want those, you don't want all those he said's or she said's or I said. Scene enhancement, fun stuff to make your scenes in throughout your story more interesting. Um, Poke the bear deepens conflict between characters. I'll be going over a few specific plugins in each, well, in most of these categories. We don't have enough time to delve into everything. I will not be demoing anything from world building today. But there's some fun stuff in here. Agents of Evil, Gamecraft Forge, Magic and Fantasy Normalizer. Most of the world building stuff is for fantasy scenes, or fantasy stories. Analysis and feedback. There's a ton of good stuff in here. Brutal Honesty Bot. Is it any good? Find an author mentor. Simulated New Yorker review. Those aren't the ones we're going to be looking at today, but those are some of them we have. Marketing. One of my weaknesses is not knowing how to market my stuff. So I've been using these heavily with my own work, and we're going to be checking some of them out today. Genre specific. A lot of these are going to be related to romance and erotica in this category of plugin, but there are some others. We've got horrify, which is kind of, difficult to say, but fun. Fantasy series, etc. And then if you're not writing in English, there are multilingual plugins that will help you out. Even if you are writing in English, there are some that will help you if you have foreign language incorporated into your story. I'm also not demoing any of these because I'm not as familiar with them. But also, if you don't want to have to navigate to the page, if you just want to bookmark it, we've got the plugin directory is sudowrite.com/app/plugins, and you can bookmark that in your browser for ease of use. I figured we'd try just starting a story in class today. It doesn't have to be anything in particular, but I will ask you all as we go along for feedback when the plugin gives us options. I figured story starters would be a really good one to start with, and that, right. You can also search for plugins, which is what we're going to do here, because I have story starters, and this is Michael's plugin. And when you click on a plugin, you can see that it will let you copy the link, like Tomas probably did to share this in chat. You can see the name of the plugin author, Michael Stewart. He's our community manager here. 30 people currently subscribe to this plugin. And for credit usage, which is a major factor I was considering for this class, in case anybody's on a trial membership or on the hobby plan where you have fewer credits. I didn't want to introduce any plugins that would cost you too many of your credits. So we're looking for 2 or less on the credit usage meter. And this plugin will give us 3 ideas for stories. So I have already added it. I'll remove it so that I can add it again. So you can see it will tell you add, and all you have to do to make it available in your documents is to add. And then if you want to remove it later, you can click the remove button. The description here just says, this plugin will give you 3 ideas for stories. To use it, type in a genre and format, novel, short story, etc., and mood, and highlight that before using the plugin. I'm going to give it just very generic instructions. If you look at the instructions to the AI model being used for this plugin. It tells you you are a helpful writing assistant that will follow the directions of the user. You can see that it's going to look at preceding text and highlighted text in your document, and it will come up with 3 unique story ideas, and it will get wild. So I decided we were going to go with contemporary short story just for ease of use here. So we'll highlight that text because that's what the plugin says we are going to need to do, is have the highlighted text. I just need to move one of my bars here. There we go. Plugins. Now click the drop down box. It's going to show you all of the plugins you've added. I've got quite a few here, but we're looking for story starters. Here it is. And it's helpful because Michael has added a little emoji that helps you find it. You clicked on it. What have we got here? We've got Idea 1, The Quantum Chronicles, genre, science fiction, format, short story, mood, mysterious. In a world where time travel has become possible, renowned scientist discovers a way to access parallel dimensions. As he delves into the multiverse, he becomes obsessed with finding an alternate reality where a catastrophic event never took place. However, as he continues his experiments, he starts to lose track of which version of himself he is, blurring the boundaries between reality and fiction. In this mind-bending short story, explore the consequences of tampering with the fabric of existence and unsettling discoveries that await. I kind of like that. Also got Idea 2, Echoes of Eternity. In a fantastical land immersed in ancient legends and forgotten magic, a young bard stumbles upon an enchanted necklace said to possess the power to grant eternal life. Driven by ambition and the desire for immortality, the bard embarks on a perilous journey to claim the necklace and rewrite their destiny. Along the way, they encounter mystical creatures, solve riddles, and face unimaginable trials. Blending elements of adventure and enchantment, this short story takes readers on a captivating quest through realms unknown. And the third idea, called The Last Melody, is a dystopian short story with a haunting mood. And it says, set in a post-apocalyptic world crippled by silence, a gifted musician struggles to survive amidst the ruins of society. Each day they attempt to recreate the last song they heard before everything fell apart. A haunting melody that seems to hold the key to restoring harmony. As they traverse desolate landscapes and encounter other survivors grappling with their own demons, they are faced with difficult choices that challenge their hope and determination. This emotional short story explores themes of loss, resilience, and the redemptive power of music in the face of despair. So, we have 3 different story ideas we can work with right now, and I'm gonna let y'all vote in chat if you like Idea 1, The Quantum Chronicles, the science fiction story, Idea 2, Echoes of Eternity, the fantasy story, or Idea 3, The Last Melody, the dystopian story. And got 2 votes for 3, the dystopian story. Oh, it looks like it looks like we're doing number 3, The Last Melody. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the text generated by the plugin, and I'm going to go into our story Bible, which by default is turned off when you get started, but you can turn it on in the sidebar here by clicking the button, and all of a sudden you have these fields for brain dump, genre, style, synopsis, characters, and outline. So what we're going to do here is we're going to paste this into the brain dump. We can now put dystopian and short story into the genre. I like putting short story in the genre and the style. just so that it knows we're not doing a really long book with multiple chapters. We'll also have style, we'll put haunting, and we'll just leave it at that so that we've got a basis to work from. We're just going to generate our synopsis here because I don't believe I have any plugins that I wanted to use to demonstrate for synopsis. Okay, so in a world where silence reigns supreme, a gifted musician struggles to survive amidst the ruins of a post-apocalyptic society. They long to recreate the last melody. That's basically what we had in the story idea. As the musician continues their journey, they come across a child who has been separated from their family. The musician takes the child under their wing, realizing they cannot abandon the innocence of youth in such a bleak world. I like that. The decision brings new challenges, however, as the musician must now protect the child from dangers both seen and unseen. I'm picturing this like with the Mandalorian now as a musician instead of a bounty hunter. Or, you know, from The Last of Us, you know, something like that. We're not going to worry about rewriting that, but I am going to double check what plugin we wanted to use. Okay, short story outline. We'll use that after we want to. Okay, we've got genre, we've got style, we've got synopsis. We're going to generate some characters, because our musician doesn't currently have a name. Ah, here we go. Aria Melodia. A nice, oh, we've got some very on the nose names here. It's kind of corny, but I'm digging it. We've got Aria Melodia, a gifted musician in her late 20s. Aria has shoulder-length curly auburn hair and piercing green eyes. She carries the weight of the world on her shoulders as she longs to recreate the last melody she heard before everything fell apart. An empathetic soul with a strong sense of determination, Aria often finds herself torn between her own survival and that of others. That is our main character, Aria Melodia, who will later be joined by Fin Crescendo, Kai Harmonia, who looks like our child that she's going to take under her wing, essentially. Mara Rhapsody, Atlas Forte, Seren Fugue, Luca Allegro, Marin Andante. I like it. I like it. I do have okay, characters. If we want to deepen these characters a little, I have a plugin for that. It's actually down here under character quirks. I added I created this plugin earlier today because I was looking for a low cost character plugin, and it really I wasn't finding anything that was going to suit our needs for this class. So here, we're going to go to newest because, like I said, I just created it today. And you can see character quirks right here. Title, I always use emojis to start and end my plugins, just so they're easier to identify. My leading emoji will always have something to do with what the plugin does, and the sparkle is what I've added to indicate it's mine. I don't think anybody else has a personal emoji in the plugins thing, but I've decided to do that. This plugin will generate some quirks for your main character. It's very simple in order to be economical. All you need to have filled out in Story Bible is at least one character in your characters box. So we've got our character in our character box, and we don't need this here anymore. So I'm just going to delete the contemporary short story thing. And I need to move my Zoom bar again. Plugins. I'm gonna scroll down through my plugins. Character quirks. There we are. Just clicked on it. I didn't have to highlight anything because all we need is characters in our character box. So here we have character quirks. Aria Melodia, the gifted musician, has a unique way of dealing with her emotions through her music. Whenever she feels overwhelmed, she subconsciously starts playing the piano, her fingers dancing across the keys in a frenzy of melody. I'm not sure how this is going to work in a dystopian scenario, but I suppose there's just pianos all over the place for her to find. Oh, the document with the links. I will be sharing that in the description when I upload the recording of this session to YouTube. So all the links, you'll have access to them um, if you check that out later on. Understands it. This often catches those around her off guard, as if she's lost in another world entirely. Her shoulder-length curly auburn hair tends to get tangled up in her hands while she plays. I'm not quite sure how that would work. Physically, she tends to bite her bottom lip when feeling particularly stressed or anxious, leaving it slightly bruised and swollen at times. I'm thinking we need to run this again because I don't like how that turned out. Have to scroll to it again. Character quirks. Let's try this again. Rerolling. All right. Aria Melodia, a gifted musician in her late 20s, shoulders the weight of the world with her curly auburn hair and piercing green eyes. Oh, I just noticed you said keytar. That's great. When overwhelmed, she has a nervous habit of tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear, a gesture that becomes more pronounced as she struggles to find solace in the melodies she creates. Finally, a character with green eyes. I know, right? Her empathy extends beyond the music, making her deeply concerned for the well-being of others as well as her own survival. Despite carrying the burdens of the apocalypse, Aria remains determined to recreate the last melody she heard before everything fell apart. A small glimmer of hope in an otherwise desolate world. It's not perfect, but what we're going to do is I pressed the copy button. It copied the 110 words that the plugin generated. We're going to go back to characters in the Story Bible by clicking right there. It's scrolled down, and I'm just going to replace this text with what we copied. So there we have a more in-depth character description, and now everything else we do that draws from the character box will include that information from the character quirks plugin. While I'm thinking of it, if you want to know how many credits each of these plugins uses up, you can go click on the cogwheel here to your settings, and you'll see here show recent activity. You're going to click on that. And the character quirks is pretty cheap plugin to run. I used 42 credits the first time I ran it and 43 the second time. That's really pretty minuscule. So it's a really cost-effective way to play with your characters. There are other character plugins that will use more credits, and they are also worth using. Just not going to demo that today. So going back to here. Okay, short story outline. Short story outline is open that in a new tab. Okay. This one was written by Nicole Broussard, one of my fellow ambassadors, who runs a lot of classes. So her plugins tend to be pretty decent. Yeah, story starters only cost 103 credits too. This plugin for the short story outline uses effective pacing beats to outline a short story. It's intended to read a short highlighted story premise and then returns an outline of events for the story. Reads up to 500 words of highlighted text plus brain dump, genre, style, and characters if filled. I don't have any highlighted text. Let's see if it will create the outline without any highlighted text. It will give me an error if it doesn't work like that. Did I add that properly? Let's go check. Yeah, I have it added. So it is in here somewhere. I probably scrolled right past it. Either that or I need to, I think I need to refresh. Just gonna press F5 to refresh the screen because I may have added it after this page loaded the last time. Ah, here we are, short story outline. Okay, you can see in the sidebar, it's starting to generate even though we didn't have any highlighted text. Okay, title, The Last Melody, genre, dystopian, themes, loss, resilience, redemptive power of music, the setting, location, post-apocalyptic world devoid of sound, time period, unspecified future, atmosphere, desolate and haunting, characters, we've got the protagonist, Aria Melodia, the goal to recreate the last melody she heard before the apocalypse, the conflict, navigating a desolate world and confronting her own guilt. Aria learns to find solace in the melody she creates and the people she meets, allowing her to heal and move forward. We've got the antagonist, an obstacle, the desolate world, the silence, and Aria's own guilt. The goal is to confront and overcome the challenges presented by the apocalypse. Conflict with the protagonist are the world and Aria's own emotions serve as constant challenges to her progress. It lists the supporting characters. It talks about the plot. Oh, we've got our hook for the opening scene. We've got an inciting incident when she encounters Finn, another survivor who shares her passion for music. Rising action, key events. Aria and Finn stumble upon Kai, a young vulnerable child separated from their family. Aria's memories of Mara, her lost love, haunt her throughout her journey. A group of survivors takes refuge in an abandoned factory led by Atlas Forte. Aria and Finn face challenges as they attempt to recreate the last melody, including Saren's emotional distance, Luca's impulsiveness, and Marin's fears. Climax. Aria confronts her guilt and the weight of the world, finally able to recreate the last melody, which resonates throughout the desolate landscape. Following action, the group of survivors begins to heal and find solace in the music, forming a bond that transcends the silence of the apocalypse. Resolution. Aria's determination and resilience lead to the restoration of harmony, allowing the survivors to find hope. We've got quite a bit here. We're just going to take and we're going to copy all this. It's 543 words. I'm going to put this in the synopsis, in the brain dump. We'll put this in the brain dump too. Wasn't sure if this would create an actual outline. It looks like it did not. So we are going to go down to outline, which we could have also just clicked on it here in the story Bible. Yes, it's great for, I agree with that, Thomas. It's great for creating serial ideas or multiple episodes for the same crew or team of characters. We're going to generate outline. It's going to take a look at our genre, our synopsis, and our characters. Oh, so actually I did want to paste that into our synopsis. Since the one we got from the plugin was so much more detailed than what the other plugin created. we're going to use that. And then we're just going to click Generate Outline. Has to think for a little while. And it starts writing it. So your outline is always going to take this format where it starts with Act 1, Introduction, Chapter 1. What this is supposed to be a short story, but you know, we'll just see. The plugin we're using right now was the short story outline that Nicole created. Yeah, we've got, it's giving us a whole lot of chapters. So I suppose if this were a nice big novel, we'd have 22 chapters. Let's we're gonna tell it to rewrite the outline. Rewrite outline of a single as a single chapter short story instead. Let's see if that works. Here we go. Oh, that's right. I forgot to change it to story circle. That's why it did that. After it finishes generating, I'll show you how that's supposed to work. That's so much better. Yeah, generally speaking, when you're going to do an outline, you can choose the outline type. And what I should have used for our short story here was story circle, because it's what you want to use. But since we have this now, after rewriting the outline, we're just gonna go with that. Next plugin I want to show you is Cheaper Better Beats. So we're going to use our outline here. We've already got that. Okay, so we go back into the document itself. Do we get beats in a short story? I don't remember how that works. Yeah, we're gonna just generate beats here based on our outline and other information.
I'm not sure the beats box will read.
I guess it does not. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
You can put a chapter 1 up there, you know, like an act 1
Yeah.
chapter.
Yeah. So I guess I'll take what we generated in outline and let's just see if it will convert to beats for the chapter. I don't know if that'll work or if I have to turn it back into, oh yeah, that'll do. So let's see. For cheaper, better beats, this is new one from John, another one of my fellow ambassadors. It uses the Mixtral Instruct model. And if you have some beats that seem like they're very vague, you can try this. You can run it multiple times. You may discover your chapter is now a 12-chapter novella. Use the highlighted text to add further instruction to the plugin. Whoops, I clicked out of the window and I didn't mean to. Here we go. Yeah, structured beats is good, but expensive. Like I said, I really wanted to highlight stuff that beginners could afford to use. And one of the things about Cheaper Better Beats is that you can use it without having anything. Here it is, Cheaper Better Beats. See, it's starting to populate the information here. This also puts it in the proper format for the Beats box. All right, I'm just going to delete the original outline we rewrote and insert. Nope, that inserts it there. I wanted to copy it. All right, we're going to put the beats here and we're going to generate the chapter using, what did I think Mythomax 13B was the cheapest one for credits for demonstration purposes. So we're not gonna worry about pausing in between strides, which is generally advised when you're writing your own story here. Keep an eye on time. I am not doing well. Okay, we'll just get through beats 5 and 6 in our short story so that we have time to look at the rest of our plugins here. Okay, so here we have the beginning of the story is now, the world had fallen silent, a haunting reminder of the societal collapse that ravaged the land. Aria Melodia, a gifted musician. This isn't the best. Aria Melodia, a gifted musician in her late 20s, shouldered the weight of the world with her curly auburn hair and piercing green eyes. When overwhelmed, she had a nervous habit of tucking a loose strand of hair behind. Yeah, this beat isn't so great. We're just gonna actually delete this because that's instructions, that's not story. Okay, I'm also going to collapse this box because we don't need it anymore. You can it's the little like typewriter icon here. You can toggle it on and off. So now our story, did I not actually do that? Okay. Okay, that's what we wanted to remove. The world was a silent, desolate wasteland. Aria Melodia trudged through the rubble, her curly auburn hair blowing in the wind that never seemed to die down. She felt the weight of the world on her shoulders, the burden of being the last surviving musician. The last time she had heard a melody was before everything fell apart, and now she was determined to recreate it, to bring back some semblance of the life that was lost. Her gaze darted around, taking in the ruins of what was once a vibrant city. The buildings loomed over her, broken and abandoned. The air was thick with despair, and she could feel it in her bones. Aria's green eyes scanned the horizon, searching for any sign of life. Okay, so let's go back to here. We've used all of our narrative and plot plugins already. We used the character development plugin. I like this plugin called Evaluate the Beginning. I should have just copied and pasted this so I didn't typo. This plugin is written by Dahlia. And it analyzes the first page of the novel up to 1,000 words and determines whether it answers the following questions. So we are going to just go here. Did it tell me I had to highlight anything? It did not, but we're going to highlight it. Actually, we'll see if you can do it without highlighting it. We will put the cursor at the end, just in case. And evaluate the beginning. All right. This plugin's telling us the author's voice and the typical tone of the genre are not yet clearly established on the first page. More context is needed to make a definitive judgment. The world's special qualities are hinted at through the description of the ancient city and the shadow of the citadel. However, more information is required to fully understand what makes this world unique. Main characters are not explicitly introduced on the first page. There are references to the young prince and the king, but their identities and roles in the story are not yet clear. The stakes are not yet apparent on the first page. There are hints of conflict with the mention of the enemy and the battle, but the nature and significance of these conflicts are not yet clear. The promises to the reader are also not yet clear on the first page. The description of the ancient city and the shadow of the citadel suggest a fantastical setting, which may imply a promise of adventure and discovery. However, more information is needed to make a definitive judgment. Yeah, picky. Basically, if you had, if you were pulling your own story that you've already started writing into this, it would give you a much better evaluation of how your story has begun. Since we're just doing generic stuff that we are writing on the fly based on plugin feedback and output, it's not that great so far, and we only wrote 624 words so far. So this plugin wasn't all that useful for this demo, but it is helpful. I used it on my own work, and it did help me improve the first chapter of my primary work in progress. And we're going to unpack that. This was a fun plugin I found today. Unpack that. And this was also created by Michael. Thanks, Michael. Yeah, she sees things with her green eyes. There are other classes that will tell you about how to edit your character description box so it won't do things like that. Oh yes, it was created in a plugin school session. That's right. But we're going to unpack that on one of these paragraphs here. Let's choose. Suddenly there was a faint whisper in her heart. Okay. We're going to unpack these things. These 3 paragraphs with her violin. Or it cannot be at the end here. There it is. Unpack that. Oh, too much or too little text available. Let's see if we just run it on this one. It worked when I was using it earlier, so I might have just selected too much text. There it is. Unpack that. Nope, something went wrong. And this can happen. um, sometimes plugins stop working for one reason or another. Ah, okay. Synopsis.
Yeah, I'm gonna unmute just to say I think I'm glad if we found a broken one that it's mine so I can fix it. I'm gonna make one quick change to this that is going to make it more expensive, but
Okay.
should mean that it's going to work. So the way that this plugin works is it has a maximum preceding of 500 and a minimum preceding of 0, which means it should work even at the if you
Hmm.
highlight just the first paragraph in something. It has a
Okay.
maximum highlight of 2000 right now, but it also passes in both synopsis and brain dump. So it was maybe
Oh,
failing
I have so much
because it
information in
has
those.
so much. So I just increased the size of the model. And so
Okay.
if you refresh, um,
Okay.
you can try it again. And folks that are attending plugin school, iterative sort of testing and refinement. Because these are all built with plain text instructions, you're just telling AI how you want a plugin to work. It's they're easy to build. They're also easy to break. And so it all comes down to testing. And Karistina will cover that in a future class, how to build your own plugins, both in basic and advanced mode. So.
Yeah, we'll be starting that next week. We're just using plugins today. So let's try running that again. See if it does what we want it to do.
Oh boy,
Plugins
I hope so.
do tend to break from time to time based on what the LLMs are up to.
Oh,
Um,
you just had it. You were right
I
over it.
just had it.
I don't know. There you go.
Wait,
Two up.
there it is. Okay. All right, so it wants us to expand on the protagonist's backstory and emotional journey. What led her to become a musician? How did she discover her love for music? What was her life like before the apocalypse? This could provide more depth to her character. We could add more detail or more description and sensory details to enhance the atmosphere of the desolate world, exploring the sights and sounds or lack thereof. Develop the supporting characters, introduce more obstacles and conflicts, dive deeper into Arya's guilt and inner turmoil, highlight the power of music in restoring hope and bringing people together, consider exploring the origin of the silence that has befallen the world. This gives us lots of great ideas for how to make our story better. It doesn't do it for us, but it tells us what we want to do. Um, and just so we can keep track of how many credits we're using, yeah, we're doing pretty good. The cheaper better beats use 231 credits. Evaluate the beginning used 24. Unpack that only used 1333, which is less than the built-in um, outlining and generating prose and stuff like that. Or no, generating prose was pretty cheap because I chose the cheapest model possible. Our generate outline was so far the most expensive thing we've done. But we don't need that right now. So that gives you ideas on how to make your story better based on what you've already written. Um, I don't know how we're going to incorporate texting in this, but I have a fun plugin I made. We're just gonna go to this. It's for texting in character, just to demonstrate how you can create. Is she wearing contacts or born with those greenies? Who knows? Inquiring minds want to know. Um, but we'll go to where we left off here, and we're just going to have Arya thinks back to the last time she spoke with, I think her lost love was Mara. Wait, okay. Yes, Mara Rhapsody. So we'll scroll back up here to the story. I do wish we could get, if I could like put characters here in my right sidebar so I didn't have to scroll, but that's not currently how things work. Okay, Ari thinks back to the last time she spoke with Mara and the text conversation they had right before the world fell apart. Just to demonstrate how a generative plugin works that's just going to write stuff for you. Where did I put my texting in character? Here we go. So we have that text highlighted, and we're going to click on the plugin's name, texting in character. Okay, it didn't listen to my instructions at all. So not a very good demonstration of this plugin, but we've got Aria. Hey Finn, did you ever find that old guitar we were looking for? Finn, nah, not yet, but I'll keep looking. Any news from Kai today? Obviously, this is not appropriate for the story we're having right now. But if I've used it in other stuff, it references the character section of your story Bible, 300 word maximum for highlighted text. I have some examples of prompts. You know what? Let's just run this as a prompt. Oh gosh, it's almost time, and we are so far behind where I wanted to be. So let's go through humor me. I'm just gonna open all of these in new tabs. Nope, it's just gonna open one new tab. Okay. Unless I just have my bar here. Okay, yeah. Humor me is something that you're going to use. Yes, please queue up questions. I'm going to keep going even after time. I'm sorry for anybody who has to leave at when the hour is up. This will be on YouTube later. I will put the link to it in plugins chat in the Sudowrite Discord. So Humor Me is a fun plugin I found earlier that will add some humor to the text. I don't know if I've highlighted enough for it, but let's see how it runs.
It's a two-stager, so it might take a minute.
Okay. Oh, right. And I forgot that it outputs it in script format. So that would be something we would want to rewrite into prose format. But Aria tracing the worn strings of her violin. Oh, Mara, how I yearn for the days when our music painted vivid colors in the air. It's like a bittersweet echo of happier times that clings to me. Mara, materializing as a ghostly figure beside Aria. Oh, come on now, Aria. We're not in some cliche horror flick. It's just music, after all. I like has her smirking. Quite the dramatic response, but you have a point. The world hasn't fallen into an abyss of silence just yet. Mara, rolling her ethereal eyes. Yes, because the apocalypse surely did wonders for the thriving music industry. I bet Spotify is still booming in the chaos. So if we liked that, if it fit our story, we could take, and wow, that created quite a bit here. We could insert it into the text, but we have the cursor right here. It will insert it after the cursor. We would rewrite that as prose. The next plugin I wanted to show you is from the top, which I really like a lot too. I have to keep dragging these taskbars all over the place because they keep hiding different parts of my screen. From the top was a plugin created by MLB50. It will suggest alternative ways to begin the chapter other than an atmospheric description. So since we have kind of a rough start here, we're going to want to see what it'll give us, or from the top. Oh yeah, this is already like, instead of, okay, that looks, the first paragraph looks pretty much the same. Second paragraph gets a little better. So we're just going to, yeah, so this would be something that we could rewrite if I didn't have like the awkward formatting that it used in here too. I'd insert that and compare it. I could paste it as a new document so that I could compare and contrast with the original, and just copy and paste what I do like and leave what I don't like. Is that music? Arya whispered to herself with wide-eyed disbelief. Yeah, we go into script format halfway through, so that was a little bit problematic. But it's great at rewriting the beginning of your story if you had kind of a rough start. Analysis and feedback. I wrote a rather amusing plugin just to entertain myself. Yes, wide green-eyed disbelief. Always going to see those green eyes because it mentions it in characters. I did a feedback plugin that uses the voices of Eleanor and Chidi from the TV show The Good Place, because I thought that would be fun. We don't really want it to look at this whole entire thing, so let's go to where it started rewriting. Okay, this is where it started rewriting the text for us that we want to use. There are a lot of feedback plugins. A lot of them are really credit heavy. So I like them, but it did not make sense for me to use them when we're trying to save credits here. So this, if you are familiar with The Good Place, you'll know that Eleanor is kind of selfish and shallow and irreverent, and Chidi is very serious and anxious and stuff, and they use fake cursing in the show, so I thought that would be fun in our feedback to make it a little less harsh to hear if they have some tough love to give you. Have Eleanor, holy shirt, Chidi. Have you ever heard of a more forkety dystopian story? This Aria Melodia character sounds like a one-person soundtrack to the apocalypse. I mean, come on. Who doesn't love a determined musician on a quest to bring back the groove in a world gone silent? Talk about epic. Chidi says, Eleanor, while I appreciate your enthusiasm, I must admit that I find the premise somewhat underdeveloped. The author introduces this grand concept of a desolate wasteland with Arya as a sole survivor, but it feels like they're just scratching the surface. I would like to see more world building and exploration of the circumstances that led to this apocalyptic scenario. And Eleanor, of course, is like, fork that, Chidi. Who cares about the logistics? This story is all about the feels, baby. And it will go through and give you all sorts of actually helpful feedback to make your story better. Okay. but it's delivered in an entertaining format so that, you know, you can be like, all right, I know that part needs improvement. Or, oh good, I'm glad they liked that part. And you know, um other than that, we had the Bechdel test. Let's look up the Bechdel test. If you're not familiar with the Bechdel test, it will determine whether or not the female characters in a given scene engage in conversation that does not talk about a man. Since we don't really have any men introduced yet, I don't think we're going to have a problem with that. But let's just run it anyways and see what it says. Based on the given passage, there is only one named female character, Aria Melodia. There are no other named female characters that engage in conversation with Aria. Therefore, the passage fails the Bechdel test, as it does not fulfill the requirement of having at least two named female characters engaging in a conversation about something other than a man. Obviously, this would be more useful if you have more written and you want to make sure that your female characters aren't only talking about men. It's a very basic test created a long time ago to see if, like, TV, movies, stuff like that, had female characters who weren't just talking about dudes. Then we have emotional impact assessment. I added this one a while ago. Nope. Here we go. Oh, this is another one of Michael's. I guess I had a little bit of bias towards Michael's stuff because he's updated his plugins to make them less expensive to use, while some of the other great plugins by talented plugin authors aren't necessarily that credit friendly. But this will show you if you have enough emotional content to engage your reader. And it will tell you, as a fan of the contemporary dystopian genre, this passage resonates deeply with me. The author skillfully creates an atmosphere of desolation and despair, painting a vivid picture of a world devoid of color and life. The protagonist, Aria, is presented as a strong and determined character, burdened with the weight of being the last surviving musician. Her longing to recreate the lost melody and bring back some semblance of the life that was lost is palpable. The dialogue between Aria and Mara adds a layer of depth to the story, injecting moments of humor and camaraderie amidst the darkness. It kind of liked that little fake conversation that we added with that one plugin. The surprise fact about another musician named Soren introduces an intriguing twist. Overall, this passage evokes a range of emotions from sadness and despair to hope and determination. The writing style effectively captures the essence of the dystopian genre, drawing readers in with its vivid descriptions and engaging characters. I'm eager to continue reading and discover how Aria's journey unfolds in this silent world. And we'll do another credit check. And that only, these last few plugins cost fewer than 200 credits, or not 200, fewer than 500. I misspoke. I'm like transposing numbers in my head. And I do have a little bit of an issue where the captions are blocking part of my view here. Because I always have closed captions on when I'm in a Zoom meeting for accessibility. And what were we doing? We did the emotional impact assessment. So marketing. Okay, these were some really helpful things that I found. There's a query letter generator for when you have a completed story, and you want to send a query letter to an agent who you hope will represent you. It is also written by Michael. Wow, I didn't even look at the plugin authors for these, so it will generate a first draft of query. Yeah, one man plugin factory, that's you. So we're going to, let's add a new document for our query letter. We are just going to scroll down and find query letter generator right here. I'm gonna click on it and it starts writing right here. That worked super fast. So I inserted it here to make it easier to read. We have dystopian short, the last melody. Dear agent / editor's name, I hope this letter finds you well. I'm reaching out to you because of your passion for dystopian fiction and your expertise in representing unique and thought-provoking stories. After researching your agency or publishing house, I believe my short story, The Last Melody, would be a perfect fit for your list. The Last Melody is set in a post-apocalyptic world where silence has become the norm. In this haunting landscape, a gifted musician named Aria Melodia struggles to survive and find meaning amidst the ruins of society. Each day, she attempts to recreate the last song she heard before everything fell apart, a haunting melody that seems to hold the key to restoring harmony. As she traverses desolate landscapes, blah, 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 blah. I chose to approach you specifically because I admire your work with similar titles and authors. Add specific examples here if applicable. Your track record suggests a deep understanding of complex narratives and an appreciation for compelling storytelling, which aligns perfectly with The Last Melody. As an author, I have always been drawn to stories that push boundaries and challenge societal norms. This passion has led me to explore various genres and formats, but The Last Melody holds a special place in my heart. It allows me to delve into the depths. While this is my first fiction manuscript, which may not be applicable, you can always edit that. But you have this really great template for a query letter, which I have no experience writing. So I really appreciate that this plugin exists. I've previously been published in several literary journals, such as Add Publication Names here. I've garnered positive reviews, blah, blah, blah. I believe this has the potential to resonate with a wide range of readers who enjoy contemporary dystopian fiction. Its exploration of loss, resilience, and the redemptive power of music taps into universal themes that will appeal to fans of works such as, add comparison titles here. You have to do your own research for those comparison titles. I've completed the manuscript for The Last Melody, which is approximately word count words in length, which is important when you're querying for a short story. If you're querying for a novel, it will have different output here. It gives a contact information in the last paragraph, and that's great. Like, all you have to do is plug in the variables that are clearly denoted with capital letters and square brackets, and just, peruse it to make sure all of the other information is appropriate and accurate for you. What was the other one? Oh, it was chapter summary in 100 words. With my work in progress, I don't have an outline or anything like that. And if I want help rewriting chapters and stuff, if I want to check the beats, because what I already have written isn't really working, so I want to adjust the pacing. I might want to summarize the chapter and then rework that in my outline and generate new beats and see if I can adjust my narrative, my prose. For that, we will highlight this much because we've got, or use as chapter glue. Yes, you can use it as chapter glue too. There is another plugin called Chapter Glue. It's a little more expensive, but it's very good and very thorough. This gives you only 100 words, which makes it easier to plug into parts of your story Bible. Chapter summary in 100 words. Which also, if you have a tendency to be very verbose, like I am, it's good to have something that will keep it brief for you. So we have in this chapter, Arya continues her journey through the desolate wasteland, haunted by memories of her past and driven by a desperate need to recreate the last melody she heard. She crosses paths with Finn, a fellow survivor who becomes her accomplice and source of support. Arya's determination is further fueled when she hears a faint whisper of a melody on the wind, giving her hope that she may not be alone in the silent world. I did notice this earlier. When it starts saying the chapter also introduces other important characters, including Kai, a young child separated from their family, and Mara, Arya's lost love, who appears in her memories. That section is drawing from the story Bible and not the chapter itself. So it's not always going to be relevant to that specific chapter summary. But I still find it useful to have a summary in so few words that you can use across social platforms as a like if you have a presence on Ream, if you are giving a sample chapter on Wattpad or something and you just want to give a summary to help people know what they're getting into, it's pretty cool for that. Oh, that's actually a bit more expensive than I thought it was. That we generated like so many more words than that for so many fewer credits, but it used about 1,000 credits because it did take in we got preceding text, highlighted text, style, and characters. So it's processing a lot more information than just the highlighted text. So that's going to use up a little more credits. It does not say which model it is using. I just went based on the 2 out of 4 in credit usage. So I knew it wasn't using like GPT-4 because that's a lot more expensive, and that's usually you're going to see it's going to be 4 out of 4 on credit usage. But still, 1,000 credits isn't so bad, especially when like if you're a trial user and you have a manuscript and you just want, yeah, anything below 1/12 ratio is a win. If you're a trial user and you just want to use your 50,000 credits to take a look at your manuscript to get it ready for shopping it out to agents or publishers or marketing it as a self-published book and stuff, these plugins like the query generator and the chapter summary and any of these, like they're all pretty useful, and considering the cost of credits and memberships, it's a lot cheaper than if you were looking to hire somebody to do this stuff for you. And I know my fellow indie authors tend to not have a lot of money getting started, so it's it's very cost effective, essentially. And that was kind of my idea here for showing people how to use plugins, was just so that you could get an idea of what they can do for you, and that they don't have to cost an arm and a leg. But even if you were to use more expensive plugins than the ones we demonstrated in this class today, it's still going to be a lot cheaper than hiring a professional. That's not to say that you shouldn't hire a professional for some things, especially if you can afford to do so. But if your options are not having a developmental editor or somebody to help you out, not having beta readers and stuff like that, plugins can give you a variety of, or they can accomplish a variety of tasks that you otherwise wouldn't be able to do virtually. So I think we will wrap up the recording now. So thank you for coming to class. After I stop the recording, we can address some questions from the audience. Let me just find my, okay. Yes, so thank you. We will be doing plugin school again next week, where we'll start building plugins. But now you should have a pretty good idea of how to use them. See you next week.